Hello, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Overpowering Emotions, where I talk all things big emotions, emotion regulation, resilience. Today, I want to talk about something that we've all probably used when we're feeling certain things, but I don't think we talk about it intentionally. I know I have talked about it before with one of our guests, but I really want to focus specifically on music today because it can be a really good tool for helping kids on a few different levels. One, learning how to manage emotions, right? If we get them to practice riding the wave of emotion while listening to sad music, for example, we can really work on that. Music can be used to shift emotions as well. So we can use it as a teaching tool, we can use it as an emotion regulation tool. It can help us get motivated right before a big moment. We can use music to help with calming or just reducing our overall arousal level after a stressful day. It can help us feel seen when we're struggling. It can bring back memories that make us smile or make us cry or, whatever the range of emotions. So there's lots of different ways that we can use music intentionally, right? And teaching kids how to use music can be really helpful as well. So I'm really going to focus today because there are so many facets that we could be looking at. I'm really going to focus today on using music to help us with emotions because there is this direct link to the emotional brain. When we're looking at music, it sort of bypasses our thinking brain and it goes straight to that emotional and memory center. Okay, so this is why a song, it can instantly take us back to a moment in time. It can make us feel something deeply, even if we don't fully understand it. I mean, our brain, I talk about this all the time, our brain is always picking up stimuli in our environment. So even really faint music that we might not even consciously be aware of, it's in the background, that can elicit feelings, right? The example that I often give is, if you're in a car and you're in a car accident and, years later, a certain song comes on, you might start feeling panicky, like you're worried about having a car accident. It could be because, that song was on the radio in around the time of that accident, for example, right? So even just outside of our awareness, music can really start eliciting feelings. But when we use it in helpful ways, that's what I'm focusing on, right? Where it can be really helpful for kids, especially when they don't happen to have the words to express their emotions. And that's usually what ends up happening. If we get so emotionally dysregulated, we almost become mute. We just can't express ourselves. And so music really helps us connect to feelings in a way that we can't explain. And that's really helpful for kids when they can't always explain, right? And I've said it before, I'm sure I'm going to say it again, that mood predicts behavior. I'm always saying that. So we can use music as well to help us elicit certain moods, help us reach whatever goal that we have. Okay. So if a kiddo has a test, and they've got test anxiety about that test, or they've got any performance anxiety, right? Maybe it's worries about a big hockey game. Having that pump up playlist can be really helpful. I know my girls, they play ringette, and whenever they had a game, they were able to control what music was being played in the car as we go to the rink. Okay. Now it's not getting rid of the anxiety, it's not getting rid of feelings. And so that's not what we're trying to do, but it is helping our kids to respond in ways that's not ruminating, that's not getting sucked into that spiral of worry. If a teen is feeling overwhelmed after a tough day, sometimes having a dance party. I mean, I do this all the time. I just have a dance party. It doesn't matter how I was feeling. If I put on some really good music that I love, it can be really helpful. For some, though, it might not be the pump up dance music after a stressful day. Maybe it's just that slow, calming music that can bring us back down to baseline. So we just need to look, right? Are we shifting our energy up, wanting more of that energy, shifting frustrated energy into upbeat music, right? So we can kind of look at those sorts of things. And again, we need to be able to be mindful of it. We're not trying to distract ourselves from feelings. It's being intentional. So still being able to drop into the body, notice what's going on in the body, but using, what do I need now to help me in this situation? That can be really helpful too. There's something else that I was going to say there, but I can never remember. So I'm just going to keep going. getting worse, I find, with age, trying to remember my thoughts. I just have so many that I just can't keep them straight. But it's just looking at those types of things. It's really important that they experiment. Actually, one thing I was going to say, I was working with this. She is a massage therapist, but she also does other stuff like neurokinetic therapy. And it was so fascinating to see how my muscles, so it's all about the brain body muscle connection. And we were doing, it's not strengthening, but she just wanted to see how strong my brain muscle connection was to certain parts of my body. And it was really interesting. We just did a little experiment with different music. And so she asked me, what's a song that you really love? And so I told her a song that I really love. And it was incredible how strong my body was. I was able to hold her whole body weight up with just a little action, a little leg action. Then she asked me, what music do I hate? And I hate like the screaming heavy metal, that doesn't even make sense. So just something like that. Did the exact same exercise again, where she was putting her weight on a specific, I was laying down on my back with my knees bent, exact same situation. And my legs dropped like lead. I couldn't hold even, she didn't even have to put any weight at all. It was so fascinating just to have that. Now, I'm not going to talk about the science of those types of things, but that's how powerful music really can be with our brain. So, I thought that I would share that. But we do need to experiment. What's good for me isn't going to be good for other people, right? Sometimes, too, it's not just about trying to be happy and uplifting. Sometimes we have to have that sad music, right? Sometimes we need our brain to be able to process situations and have a big cry, right? Sometimes that's the relief we need. And so it's not about one song to always try to make us happy. It's about experimenting, figuring things out for themselves, using music. What music do I need for what purpose, right, in this moment, or for what emotion in this moment? It's just being intentional, right, to find that emotional balance. And so, again, that awareness is going to be important to understand what it is that we need. Now, again, sitting with that emotion. So it's not about the distraction. That's so important. I can't repeat that enough, right? It's not about distraction, but it is a good tool to help sit with whatever comes up. I do a lot of musical pieces just to work on the skill of being able to drop into our body and notice what is coming up. Right. So, if we can use it for emotional balance, if we can have our prefrontal cortex online and we want to keep it online, we can use that music proactively, right? So, like I said, if we want to use music for motivation, so thinking about the music people play before a big game or a big presentation, that fast, high energy, confidence boosting sort of music, that can help kids create this sort of power playlist, a set of songs that make them feel ready for whatever it is that they're going to come on. Whatever challenges, they can be strong and confident. Okay, so like I said, that can be really helpful. So again, is it before a big test? Is it before a big task? Listening to that music that can maybe help put them in the right mindset. Now, it's about being intentional and proactive, not waiting for us to be so dysregulated that nothing's going to work, right? So it's really about teaching them to notice how different songs make them feel and picking ones that are going to help meet that need in the moment, whether it's boosting their confidence or not. Maybe it's for relaxation. So maybe we're creating a playlist that's to chill out, to relax. It slows down their breathing. It helps them get back into that calm state. Again, we're not using it as a distractor when they're in a panic state, but we can use it proactively just to lower our overall arousal level or just to have that experience in the moment. So making associations, right? Soft instrumental music, maybe when we're transitioning to a quiet activity, we're transitioning to bedtime, maybe it's during moments of stress, we can use music for those types of things as well. It's a proactive strategy just to reset the button before they're feeling overwhelmed. Okay. Sometimes though we can use that music to soften and slow the environment down as well. So maybe they have already had a meltdown and we are just creating an environment. So we're going to experiment with that too. What kind of environment can we create as well? even if they are upset in that moment. Sometimes, that slow, relaxing music can just help us remember to all stay calm, right? Rather than, it's witching hour when we're making dinner. Maybe it's just for all of us to reset before it turns into anything big and we're getting sucked into all of the emotions. Okay. So, lots of different things that music can be helpful for, even that sad music, right? A lot of us choose sad music when we're feeling down. I remember as a teenager, I broke up with a boyfriend and I was playing Richard Marx over and over and over again and just bawling. Right? That's really common for us to choose sad songs over the happy ones because of that emotional congruence where music is matching how we're feeling. It's helping us process those emotions. Okay. It's helping us feel that relief, that release of everything that's bottling up. I did say that music can help us feel understood. Sometimes hearing lyrics can really help us express our emotions or tap into those emotions that like I said, we can't express ourselves. Sometimes it just makes us feel like we're less alone because, yeah, they get it, they understand, right? And so there's this catharsis. Sad music just is helping us release those emotions instead of bottling them up, right? I can't say it enough. A good cry feels so good for a reason, right? It's a way for our nervous system to use up a lot of that energy. And again, for our brain to process whatever it is that's going on. Sorry if I'm sounding repetitive, but this is really the key to it. So we have to know what it is, what the purpose is, why are we using this? And it's about the process versus the outcome too. Again, we're always making sure kids are sitting with those emotions and then moving on. And that's really helpful too. We don't want to try to elicit different feelings per se. We want to be proactive if we want to keep good feelings going. If they're starting to get a little squirrely, we want to keep that going. If they're sitting though in depressing music, and it's weeks and months, right? And it's turning into something, well, that's going to be a problem, right? We need to for this moment. So, in those times, we definitely want to validate and acknowledge those feelings, but we just want to make sure, are you getting stuck there, right? If you haven't gotten out of bed for a week, if you haven't eaten for a week, if you haven't done anything for a week, we want to validate and acknowledge, but maybe there is a little shift here. So maybe we're not going to pump up the jam or something like that, but maybe we're looking at how do we shift to a little bit more neutral music. We want to respect their emotions, but we want to make sure we're guiding them forward as well. I think it's really helpful. What's our role here? I think it would be really great to support kids in creating a personalized music toolbox that they can use for different situations. I actually know a lot of teens who have multiple playlists for different purposes. It's not even something that I gave them for homework. They just already sort of inherently knew this is something I should do. So I've got my running playlist, or going to my gym playlist, or my chores playlist, right? Things to pump me up before a game, right? So having that motivation playlist, the relaxation playlist, the comfort playlist, maybe a sadness playlist. It's really about experimenting with them and experimenting too with different genres and tempos too. I think that's a great way to be able to practice dropping into their body, just playing lots of different types of music, dropping into their body and noticing what comes up, what physiological feelings come up, what feelings come up, right? How does that feel in their brain and their body, all of those types of things. So through that experimentation, they're building that self-awareness as well. Okay. And we can talk about how music affects their mood, right? We can connect them to songs and connect those songs to those emotions. We want to model it ourselves. There's lots of different things that we could be doing here. So even just thinking about how do you use music and showing how you use music to help those emotions. When kids have that ready to go strategy and to, just overall sort of proactive things that they can be doing, they're less likely to feel stuck in those negative emotions. They can start thinking, you know what? I've got this feeling. I know what song to play. I know what I need right now. And I know what song is going to help me get there. Okay. It's just about being intentional, using music wisely, just so that they have one more piece of control over how they respond to their emotional world. They don't have control over their emotions per se. That's why we don't want to focus on the outcome, right? But it's really about what can I do in this moment to shift, to keep moving forward, to do whatever it is that I need to do. So, something to think about. Go and experiment. I think it can be a lot of fun. I will leave it there for today just because I'm noticing that I'm repeating myself a lot, and that's usually a good cue. Thank you for joining me. If you find this episode helpful, definitely share it with other people. Subscribe, right? So you never miss an episode. Want to keep this going. As always, help those kiddos be bold and courageous. And I will see you next time. I will also have some homework ideas for you in the show notes, so be sure to check those out.